now, without further ado, we're going to welcome back Dallas Bienhoff and Michael Laine, which I will give a proper introduction to this time. I know you've seen him, you've heard him. He's been here since the beginning of today, but no, I don't think no one's ever actually given him a proper intro. So Mr. Laine founded the LiftPort group with the idea that an elevator to space could and should be built commercially. The concept for LiftPort was simple: to develop the subsystems and precursor technologies needed for the elevator, and to commercialize these as a method of payment for the larger, longer-term project of building the elevator. Areas of focus for Michael are robotics, nanotech, and material sciences, finances, and media. So thank you so much, Michael and Dallas. The screen is yours.
Howdy, thanks a lot. I apologize for the schedule confusion a moment ago. I want to jump into some current events with Dallas. You were talking about last week. I actually want to go into that a little bit further, but I think it needs some context. So go back maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks to NASA's HLS decision, and your opinions on that, right? Like, you've been at this for a really long time. You've seen an awful lot of stuff happen over your 30+ year career. A lot is happening right now in a way that has never happened since I've been doing this stuff. So just give us a rundown of what you think the last 3 weeks looks like.
Well, maybe I'll go back a little further, Michael.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And go back to the beginning of the human landing system activity, which began maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3, with some preliminary risk reduction studies and concept studies that were pursued by several companies, multiple companies, that led into the next procurement, which was HLS for the demonstration mission, the first for option A, which SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Dynetics were awarded contracts to pursue.
Let's break that down just for a second longer, right? 3 big companies. One is kind of an amalgam of other large companies.
Right.
Has that ever happened before? Anything like that?
Maybe not to that scale, but there are always partnerships, competitors that join together to pursue a big project that they can't take on alone.
Okay.
But to the scale that Blue Origin put together the national team with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Draper, themselves. I think those are the main players. And then Dynetics had, I think they had, I want to say 12 to 25 different partners.
Huge. It's a huge number.
Yeah. But I think they brought in folks with specific expertise that they didn't have themselves. So, right. You build an alliance that covers your weaknesses if you're the prime. Mm-hmm. And so that wasn't, to me, that was a way of doing business. It wasn't a positive or necessarily a negative.
But it is different, though. It highlights that there's kind of a shift in process. Is that fair?
Well, in one sense, but we still had SpaceX going alone. Boeing went alone, on their proposal. And when it come time to bid for option A, and so, it's the way we do business. Right. So NASA awarded SpaceX, Dynetics, Blue Origin, national team, these contracts to design their architecture for a demonstration mission and a first lunar landing, with the hopes of awarding multiple, i.e. more than one, but probably less than 3, awards for a demonstration mission by 2024. And those studies went on and went through preliminary design reviews and with SpaceX's approach, demonstration missions that were self-funded. demonstration attempts, I should say, for launching the Starships and bringing them back down. 3 weeks ago now, on April 16th, NASA announced that they had selected only SpaceX to go forward for the demonstration mission and the first landing from NRHO Gateway down to the moon for people. And in the announcement, or in the source selection statement, they said that SpaceX had requested $2.9 billion to do that. And the Blue Origin bid was significantly higher, and the Dynetics bid was significantly higher than the Blue Origin bid. And they didn't have enough money to fund two. So they funded one. A week went by, 10 days went by, and both SpaceX and Dynetics have challenged or protested that award. And NASA has, as is typical, suspended the SpaceX award, i.e. they're not going to give SpaceX NASA money to do what they had proposed to do in their winning proposal. Doesn't mean SpaceX stops because they're spending their own money. And matter of fact, SN15 may launch today or tomorrow.
It's scrubbed for today.
Oh, okay.
As of a couple hours ago, I haven't reviewed it, but I am watching it.
So, and then on Thursday or Friday of last week, NASA issued a request for information. And what that request is, it's entitled Enabling Industry Readiness for Commercial Lunar Space Transportation Systems. So they want to know, NASA wants to know, what is the interest in the community for bidding on the transportation services part of human landing systems, or Artemis. And again, this is akin to the commercial crew opportunity where NASA paid multiple companies initially to develop concepts, and then they picked two to go forward to implement, Boeing and SpaceX. And that was for the demonstration missions. And then they had a competition for actual transportation missions to the station. And so this is following that similar path. And in this request for information, NASA says, we want to know if there's interest for providing routine cadence of human transportation from the gateway to the lunar surface and back to the gateway. So it's not from Earth orbit, it's not from anywhere else, it's from the gateway to the moon, to the gateway. It's for humans, it's not for cargo, it's for humans.
Right.
These questions were asked and answered during the industry forum on Monday. And this is this RFI request.
The industry forum yesterday, Monday.
Yes, Monday.
Right.
Yes,
this is happening very fast. This is happening in real time, right?
In real time.
Yeah.
And so this request for information is to help shape a precursor procurement under the Next Step 2 broad agency announcement to do some risk reduction, some requirements definition for sustainable crew transportation that will lead to the Lunar Exploration Transportation Services Award of one or more providers.
So hold on a second, right? This is NASA speak, and it's deadly dull, and they're taking possibly the most exciting thing they have done in decades, and they're putting in the language that is frankly like sleep-inducing. But what they're really asking for is they're going to the commercial sector and saying, we want to figure out how the commercial sector get people from the gateway to the moon and back, right?
Correct.
And this is their process. So even though it's deadly dull, the process, the result is super, super important.
It is, and it's NASA is gonna provide money to develop the systems not necessarily all, but some.
Yep.
And the companies that bid really have to figure out how they can turn a profit by spending their own money to compensate for what NASA does not provide, and to make sure that they make money, they recoup their investment in 2 to 6 launches over 10 years. Which means you really need to know if there are other customers out there.
Right.
And
it's a customer discovery exercise, right?
Yeah.
And it's multiple organizations, right? So 2 to 6 missions over, what'd you say, a 10-year period,
years.
right?
10 years.
All right. How many missions? And I know the answer to this. I'm doing this. I'm feeding you this. How many missions were in the Apollo missions? How many?
There were up to the moon. There was 11 to 16. So actually, 6 actually went toward the moon. 7 went toward the moon because 6 landed.
So this is equal to and in addition to the original Apollo effort,
but not as fast.
And it's different in that it's got more. There's more money, right? There's more money allocated if you start thinking about all of the parts.
I don't think there's more money allocated. There's more money allocated due to inflation.
Okay.
But I don't think NASA is spending more money than they did on Apollo, purchase power wise.
It feels different. I'll look into that a little bit.
So yeah, and so NASA wants to offer companies the opportunity to do some risk reduction, i.e., solve some problems that they identified in the source selection statement with Dynetics or SpaceX's proposal, or not SpaceX, Blue Origin's proposal, like propellant transfer or propulsion systems, or you're too heavy versus what we think it should be. You know, your system doesn't close, i.e., it won't perform the mission like you say it will.
Right.
And so this request for information leads up to a multiple award of up to $15 million or a 7 to 12 month study period, leading up to the procurement of transportation services, which would be the development and building of a system that could do this demonstration mission and a landing, much like SpaceX has been awarded already. So they're asking questions like, and I've got it in front of me now so I can actually get the questions right. If NASA were to do this $15 million opportunity, I'm paraphrasing, would you be interested in competing?
Yeah.
Well, okay, yes, why not? 15 million, sure. For 7 to 12 months, that'll support a few people. Would your firm be interested in competing for the transportation services acquisition for recurring services to the moon? Okay, so if I'm SpaceX, or not, I keep saying SpaceX, if I'm Blue Origin or Dynetics or Boeing or somebody else, the answer is probably, yeah, we would be interested in competing. Okay, so no caveats at the moment.
Right.
So NASA says we're considering making up to $15 million awards of approximately 7 to 12 months. Comment on the viability of this amount and time span. Can you spend that much money? Can you do enough things in 7 to 12 months to help you prepare for less? Okay.
Okay.
We're going to provide, NASA are going to provide subject matter experts, equivalent personnel to assist you, industry, in doing your efforts. Comment on what skills and expertise would benefit your firm. Okay. What skills do you lack? What expertise does NASA have that you could use to help in your bid? And by the way, use our people.
Right.
And that gets counted into the value of what you propose.
That's a Space Act agreement that's kind of
Space
presupposed.
Act or task, they call them task agreements when they're under opportunities like this, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then another question is, NASA is considering providing unique resources, i.e. what specific facilities could you use that we have to help you spend your time on these 7 to 12 months? Like maybe a large vacuum chamber.
Right. Yeah. Shake and bake.
Wind tunnel.
Like that.
You know, maybe a suborbital test flight.
They're asking for a wish list of all of the NASA resources that you might need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Would maturing the HLS sustaining requirements, i.e. what does it take to continue to put people on the moon? Would it help you if we did that before the solicitation of the procurement? Should you know the requirements before you start?
Right.
I think yes.
Yes, it would be good. Right.
Be good. And don't change them after we start, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
What other tasks might benefit your firm? And then what other factors could enable industry to compete for the acquisition that could be incorporated into the BAA, this new opportunity, this $15 million opportunity? And I think that last question is probably the most difficult one for NASA to meet. Because my reaction is, if you want me to compete, you really have to level the playing field between where we are today and where SpaceX is being paid to get to for the competition. You know, and that means you got to kind of commit to giving everybody that wins an award under the transportation services contract $2.9 billion.
That would be nice.
At a minimum, to offset, to level the playing field that SpaceX has.
So I'm going to read in, Dr. Dodson asked a question here a moment ago about, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. I'm going to read this question.
Well, those are my opinions, by the way.
No, right. Absolutely. We're all using that opinions. Is the hope within NASA that the initial selection of only a single partner, SpaceX, will push Congress toward greater appropriation to accommodate selection of at least one more? Is this a bit of maneuvering or brinkmanship? Well, I'm personally going to answer yes, I think it is, but I want you to answer that question in the context of what you just said a moment ago, where is this RFI trying to establish a basis for the rest of the commercial community? Are those two things linked? I don't know that they are, but I have a hunch that they might be.
Let's see. I'm going to start again, kind of at the beginning of this award. The award that SpaceX got is for a demonstration mission, i.e., not occupied,
right,
and a human and an occupied lunar landing. They don't have a lock on getting a services award. The services award opportunity that's coming up is a way, the path that was always in place to get competition for services. So while NASA had hoped to be able to afford 2 demonstration missions, so you have a greater chance of one succeeding, there was always the plan to get multiple players or multiple bidders for the services award. Multiple people have said the same sentiment that you said, that maybe this was NASA leveraging, giving one award to get Congress to give them more money to give a second award. That's possible. But if I'm a buyer and there's a product, say an iPhone,
right,
I can get for $500 from somebody, and I can get that same iPhone from somebody else for $1,000, which one am I going to buy?
Right.
I'm going to buy the 500 one as long as I know it's a legal source.
Right.
You know, and so I don't really see, and Congress in their confirmation of or hearing on Bill Nelson as administrator, some of the panel members asked that question.
Okay.
You know, is Mr. Nelson, does he approve of the selection? Is he going to stand by the selection? Is he going to seek competition, et cetera? And then other panel members think that only NASA should own and operate that system, whatever it is.
Nelson was very against the commercial development of space for a long time. I'm really curious to see how the new administrator.
I think he expressed support for what's going on, and the administration is expressing support for continuing what's going on in the space community. So for that, I'm relieved that we're not taking another left turn.
Right.
And restarting whatever it is we're going to do next, as opposed to what we're doing now. You know, so I don't, with this transportation services opportunity around the corner, i.e. a year from now, at the inside, I don't see a need for NASA to make a second award for option A, the demonstration mission. They will get that under the LETs.
Okay.
The one thing that can't be done with this is shorten the time span that, or lengthen the time span that these new players will have to build and operate their system to compete on an even keel with where SpaceX is going to be, having a year head start, and actually more than a year, but they've been spending their own money. So that's, you know, more power to them. Right. So I don't know where it's going to end up, but I presume that SpaceX will continue. SpaceX will finally be allowed to spend NASA money and implement the contract. And there will be at least one, if not two other bidders for the service contract when it comes due.
So Charles asked a question about how many lunar landings are anticipated over what time frame.
Okay, so
a lot of stuff heading towards the moon. Yeah,
in the briefing that NASA gave yesterday, and it's all available now on their website, on their Next Step 2 website. I haven't downloaded it yet, but it's allegedly there. NASA said we want to do 2 to 6 missions between 2023 and 2033. We know what we want to do. We don't know what we can do because we don't have the budget to do anything. And that 2 to 6, I interpreted from what I heard. I haven't gone back and proved it yet. I interpreted that that's 2 to 6 per service provider awardee over 10 years. So,
so multiple awardees then.
Multiple awardees.
All right.
And
is that 2? Is that 3? Is that 4? What I'm trying to figure out is X times 2 to 6. I'm trying to figure out how many full missions we're talking about. Is there a guess?
There should be at least 2 awardees.
Okay.
There may be 3. I don't know. They usually say 1 or more.
Okay.
And I think in the original, in the award that was in the request for proposal, it was just awarded to SpaceX.
So
said like there's 1 mission a year to the moon.
Okay.
Because that's what SLS Orion can support.
Okay.
1 mission a year to the moon. So if there are 3 providers and you're talking 10 years, you're going to get maybe 3 missions in 10 years from NASA.
Right.
So where do you get the other missions to make your money back?
Right. commercial. You find clients, you get.
Exactly. You gotta have people signing on the dotted line saying, yay, verily, I will fly if you're available for something less than this price.
So Kevin in the chat got to where I was trying to get to.
Okay.
2 to 6 missions times 1 to 4 players means maybe 4 to 12 missions.
I would say no more than 10.
No more than 10. Okay.
And two to 3 of those years are going to be for development and certification that your system's ready to fly. So there may be 7 total from NASA.
Okay.
From NASA. For 2 to 3 to 1, 2, or 3 players.
For human missions, but robotic missions, quite a few more robotic missions, correct?
Well, and those are covered under the Commercial Lunar Payload Services contract,
yeah.
Which SpaceX has one, Blue Origin has one, and 12 others have one,
right,
for varying degrees of payload from 50 kilograms up to.
Astrobotic has stuff, Maston has stuff. Yeah, yeah.
But their payload sizes are 50 to 300 kilograms total, except for Blue Origin and SpaceX. You know, SpaceX can do 100 ton allegedly, and Blue Origin can probably do 4 to 6 with the Blue Moon as a truck,
right,
and go in one way.
So I hate to do this, but we do have to wrap up here in a moment. In summary, we're looking at something in the neighborhood of, in your opinion, 7 human crewed missions. And then if you add in various CLIPS missions.
They're like 2 a year.
2 a year.
Right.
2 a year. I mean, just let that sink in for a second, right? Commercial missions to the moon, 2 missions, at least 2 missions a year for a decade.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about 20-ish, 25-ish missions to the moon really soon. Like that changed. That's what I meant earlier about, I made a mistake when I said budget, but what I should have said was activity. There's a whole lot more activity.
Right. And the CLIPS program, Commercial Lunar Payload Services program, most of those landers have multiple payloads, multiple customers,
right,
with only 1 or 2 of them being a NASA customer.
Correct. I know that Astrobotic has been selling or attempting to sell services to the moon for at least a decade now. Right. They have a roster of a lot of potential or likely or confirmed clients.
Right.
And
they have 2 awards for landings. One is a condominium lander, if you will.
Right. Lots of what do you mean by that is lots of little payloads in one box. Yeah.
Right. On one lander, you know, spread around. And then they have the Viper, which is the explorer for lunar ice, on another one. And Intuitive Machines, I think, has 2 landings.
Yep.
Aston has 1. I think there are a total of 6 awards at the moment.
Again, let that sink in a second. I mean, that is a different kind of world than we are used to from the Apollo days. If you compare it to the Apollo days.
And even the last decade, we couldn't go to the moon. NASA wasn't going to the moon.
Nope. I'm personally I've been at this for a long time. I am more excited about what we're doing in space than I have been in my whole career. So it's exciting to me. I think the potential for humanity is off the charts. So,
and look where we've been. Look where we've been since the Vision, 2004. We're going to the moon and on to Mars.
Yep.
The Vision, which was the same as the Space Exploration Initiative in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Oh, we're not going to the moon. We're going near the moon and maybe go after an asteroid and bring it back to the moon.
Right.
So we're not doing that. We're going back to the moon to stay and on to Mars. I'm glad we're still on the back to the moon and on to Mars path.
Right.
Rather than, oh, we're going to go to Mars first, or we're going to go to Venus first, or something else, rather than continuing the path we're on.
Yep.
Very pleased for that.
I agree. I mean, there's been bait and switch a dozen times in my career, but this one feels real.
Right.
And that it's got 1,000 companies that are raising capital to do different parts of this overall infrastructure. I think that's important too. So fingers crossed. All right, Dallas, thank you so much. Appreciate your time and your insights. Your wisdom is very helpful to this community. I'm passing it over to Leo. Thanks a lot, sir. Appreciate it.
Aye.
Yes, thank you so much, Dallas. And thank you, Michael, for that amazing discussion. Again, I think I saw it earlier, Dallas, but if you could just go ahead and put your LinkedIn link back in the chat and comments so we can continue the networking benefits of this event. And again, thank you for joining us on Conversations for the Future, powered by Foundation for the Future. C4F, as we say, for Conversations to the Future, is a nonpartisan event about near-Earth space infrastructure from now to 2035. Foundation for the Future is dedicated to the creation of a public-private partnership around space infrastructure development. To support this cause or to sponsor one of our events, please visit our website at www.f4f.space, that's the number 4. And we are grateful for the support of our corporate and individual partners.